You know what's one thing I find just wild is that we as parents protect our kids' reputations, even when they're the ones rewriting the story. We do. We keep those details private. You'll never see the letter he sent me. We don't post full text messages. We stay silent about the awful things they've said, the vile things that are being said about us, because we don't want them to look bad, because we still love them regardless, even when they ghost us, block us, or call us horrible names. But the second we speak up, the second we admit we're hurting, we're sad, we're broken, it's manipulative or guilt-tripping, and that is the farthest from the truth. So let me be absolutely clear. Talking about your grief is not manipulation. It's survival. This is your story. And you're trying to make sense of all the silence and the blocking. I didn't stay quiet because I was guilty. I stayed quiet initially to protect someone who calls me toxic. And I was the one walking on eggshells. But that silence is deafening. And our side of the story is just as important.
Well, I definitely decided that this is the cup. She loves the word wild, and she really tries to sound very profound. And she's definitely not only talking to her son, she's also digging her claws into vulnerable estranged parents. I find her very predatory. Some of the estranged parents out there, I find them to just be hurting. And some of them do have support groups and things like that. And look, I have no problem with people making money off of the work that they do. No problem whatsoever. I do have a problem with people who are predatory, who are trying to capitalize on people's pain. The very same thing that therapists get accused of by the estranged parent, or parents, or some of the estranged parents, yet we are actually providing a service, right? Not some PDF that we had AI write or something like that. Not that I have a problem with workbooks and stuff like that, but well, she's got a flavor, right? She's got a flavor. As you can see next to me here, she's got a flavor. And these are screenshots of things and what I feature throughout the videos whenever I'm featuring. I can't think of a different word. Just got my brain in a befuddle. Whenever I'm featuring a content creator, not just estranged parents, and I put things like, like this. It's because I found it on their page, and I'm trying to give you the complete flavor and view of where this person is coming from, and it's not just one video. And I do look at a little bit of their content. Some people I do a deeper dive than others, and I work hard to keep everything very clean. One of the reasons, like for example, I played her entire video at the beginning of this, and I will snippet it out, throughout, is because I want people to know that we're keeping this in the context that it started in. I've had my videos spliced and diced by estranged parents a few too many times to my liking. I don't care if anybody uses my content. Just don't take it out of context, right? Don't pretend it's one thing when it's another. So getting back to her, she protected herself. Let's be very, very, very clear. I wrote a 7-page letter to my mother, and I can guarantee you that she didn't show that letter to anyone. There was no way, first of all, it was typed. I was serious. And back then we didn't have PCs, right? It was on a typewriter, and I made copies of it. I have copies of the letter that she sent me prior to that letter, where she was telling me basically to be a good little girl, be quiet, suck it up, buttercup, and know your place. And in response to that, I recognized that she was never going to respect my boundaries with my children in particular, that she was indeed trying with intention to sabotage my life, to sabotage my relationships. And so I decided that I needed to take a break from her. I estranged from her. I went no contact. I really did not understand at the age of 22 or 23 that it would last over 30 years and that I would find so much growth and peace without having a relationship with her. That being said, when she popped back in 17 years into our no contact and said, do you want to have a relationship? Embraced me. I love you. I miss you. I was totally in. And I told her, I don't need you to address the past. Let's move forward from here now, because I knew she wouldn't. And let's be good to each other now. You be good to me. But I was, I was fawning. I was being a good little girl. I wanted my mommy. That's all I need to say about that. There is no way that she showed the letter that I wrote to her. There were no text messages back then or anything like that, to another living, breathing person. I would be surprised if anybody knew about the letter. And if they did, well, they knew her spin, like, this woman's spin on the letter, on the text. You don't want to look bad saying all these things to me. You mean telling you the things that you did to me that hurt me, that you won't listen to, so I had to put them in writing? You mean putting all those things out there where you couldn't interrupt me, where you couldn't gaslight me, where you couldn't call me a liar to my face? You mean those things? You're protecting me from exposing what? The truth. The truth. That's all she's doing. And she's trying to act like she's putting cover over her son. And the only sun she's covering is that's in the sky with her thumb, with her version of events, pretending it's not there, I want to go through this and break it down a little bit. So let's get into it. Let's unpack her. I was going to say her name, but like always, I don't want to throw any audience, algorithm, hate, nothing her way. I'm not interested in doing that at all. Let's go. Let's get into it.
What's one thing I find just wild is that we as parents protect our kids' reputations, even when they're the ones rewriting the story. We do. We keep those details private. You'll never see the letter he sent me. We don't post full text messages.
We don't post full text messages. We cherry pick the parts that are going to make it look like it wasn't that bad or fit whatever our narrative is. So that, we can act like we're not smear campaigning when we're actually smear campaigning. Words matter. Words tell a lot. They tell on themselves. Estranged parents like this tell on themselves. I really hate to categorize a whole group of people as a they. Not all estranged parents are like her, thankfully. And that's the reason that we should have hope, that not all estranged parents are like her. I don't want to be out here without a family, like my family of origin. I have a family. I have my kids. I have my chosen family, my grandkids. I don't want to be out here without my family that I came from. This was not what I chose. This is what my mother chose through her own behavior. This is what my grandparents chose through their behavior when they were alive. And this is what everybody related to my grandparents and my mother chose when they abandoned me for the second time by discarding me and going no contact because I wouldn't fall into line.
We stay silent about the awful things they've said, the vile things that are being said about us, because we don't want them to look bad, because we still love them regardless, even when they ghost us, block us, or call us horrible names. But the second we speak up, the second we admit we're hurting, we're sad, we're broken, it's manipulative or guilt-tripping, and that is the farthest from the truth. So let me be absolutely clear. Talking about your grief is not manipulation. It's survival.
Talking about your grief is survival. No, it's processing. It's not survival. Talking about my grief isn't survival. Maybe she feels that way. I won't take that away from her. It's not my place to do so. So talking about your grief online while simultaneously smear campaigning your child, because that's what you just did. I'm not going to show them who you really are. Right? Tell me what you think about that. Put something in the comments section. Literally, I would like to know if you're on the same page with me. And if you're not, then show me why. Tell me why. Tell me what I'm missing. I'm open. I love constructive conversation. I think that's where we really grow. So whether you agree with my assessment or not, let me know what you think. This is a safe space after all. Anywho, it isn't manipulation. The way she's done it is manipulation, and she's telling on herself. She's carrying that with her. Somebody has said to her, people have said to her, you know, he's watching this, right? She said something the other day in her video, you know, we're doing the best we can with this thing called life in the wreckage, meaning the wreckage you left behind. She makes commentary without maybe using the exact words about how abandoned she is. And you're not doing something brave. You're hurting us. You're doing this to us. You're punishing us. So she's guilting. She's using the platform to guilt, not just her estranged son, but all the estranged kids out there. Well, all the estranged adult children that will see her content. Let me rephrase that there. And she's using that as a way, again, to prey on vulnerable estranged parents who are looking for a way to heal while they're grieving. And make no mistake, there are a lot of estranged parents out there who pass down trauma, who are emotionally immature, who haven't gone to therapy, who are absolutely grieving and lost and hurt and feeling abandoned, for sure. And the difference between her and them is they who are really grieving and genuinely wanting to know how to do better, how to heal at the same time, what to do when their estranged adult child comes back, if they come back, will go into therapy. They do. And then others will attach to her because there's comfort in knowing it wasn't your fault. And if they attach to her, and they spend enough time in content like hers, I shouldn't say her specifically, that's time they could have spent in therapy really doing something constructive. And I would hate to think that someone's estranged adult child comes back and they are in a place that she's taught them to be and allowed them to stay, rather than having gone into real therapy and unpacked their traumas that caused them to pass down the trauma that they did and caused them not to be able to grow along with their child as their child became an adult. Because by and large, what happens with these estrangements is a failure of growth, in my opinion. The child comes into adulthood, they have the capacity and the capability to create boundaries. They start learning about things that have been normalized as not being healthy behaviors. They start learning that they have a right to be heard and to be respected and all these different things. Maybe they go to therapy, they change, and that parent is stuck where they were when their adult child was under the age of 18 and within their control. And that's where a lot of this breakdown occurs. If it was, and I said this the other day, simply because of abuse, then a lot more kids would be estranging on their 18th birthday. And we know there's been some studies, and I'm quoting a study that I'm not going to throw up here that I found a while back, and I'm not going to put it up here just because I didn't save it and I'd have to find it. Maybe somebody out there, if you know what study I'm talking about. And look, it was from a university. I don't know how in depth it was. I don't remember. I do remember there were some things in there about percentages and things like that. And one of the things that they said was that children estranged in their 23, 24-ish ages from their fathers and in their 26-ish ages from their mothers. And I don't remember the reason for the difference. I would think it's because we are born in love with our mothers, right? They are our first love experience. They are our first experience with unconditional love, and our fathers are our second. That's what I think. I could be completely wrong. Who knows? I just think that if you're going to cut one tie over the other from a primal perspective, from a biological perspective, it's harder to cut your mother than your father. So I don't know. Thoughts, comments, research, science, anything you got, please put it in the comments section. I am definitely not the end all be all. There's plenty I don't know, and I have no problem saying that out loud. And I like to learn. I'd like to learn more. I like, sometimes people will share with me a book or a story or whatever. I'm super open to it because I'm not the only one also reading the comments section. You guys are engaging with each other, and that's how we continue to grow and heal. Okay, let's keep going.
This is your story, and you're trying to make sense of all the silence and the blocking. I didn't stay quiet because I was guilty. I stayed quiet initially to protect someone who calls me toxic, and I was the one walking on eggshells. But that silence is deafening, and our side of the story is just as important.
I don't have a problem, and it's not for me to have a problem or not have a problem. I don't have a problem with estranged parents sharing their experiences. I have a problem with estranged parents sharing their experiences while simultaneously guilting other estranged children by vilifying us. I have a problem in the way that she is, in my opinion, smear campaigning her son. I have a problem with their lack of recognition around the damage that they're doing. I have a problem with them sharing and not also educating themselves and going to therapy while they're doing so. Yeah, that's what I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with them grieving and healing together. However, bring somebody in who actually, for their support groups and their lives and their tables and, round tables, they do all these different things. Bring somebody in who actually, has repaired their relationship with their estranged adult child. Bring somebody in that is an example of what healing looks like after the estrangement, even if they didn't get that, reunification and repair. Bring somebody in who isn't just coming from a place of vindictiveness. Do it in a constructive way. I see estranged adult children sharing their stories, and there's a lot of pain there. And I hear the way that they talk about their experiences. And yes, sometimes I hear them also being vindictive, and that's not good for anyone, by the way. The difference, though, I think, is that it's not the estranged child that did something to the parent to devolve the relationship into a non-relationship. That's the tail wagging the dog. I mean, that's a power dynamic that we need to pay attention to, that it isn't in place. Be the bigger person. I mean, this was me. I didn't create the relationship with my mother. I didn't break the relationship with my mother. So I also think that it's different when you're the child of somebody who refused to show up with safety and care. And moreover, when you're the parent that showed up with intentional abuse, particularly in narcissistic abuse, it's not the same thing. It's apples and oranges. I featured somebody the other day, and she was saying, what about the harm he caused me? Where's my apology? What about the way he hurt my feelings? He's not perfect. And it's like, girl, you repeatedly cross the boundaries. You're online smearing the hell out of his wife while saying how much you miss the grandchildren. That's their mother. You created a situation where he either chose to stay in that and allow his wife to be continually hurt while you disrespect the structure that he and his wife are creating around their children, structure meaning boundaries. And he has the audacity to walk away from you and hurt your feelings, and now he should apologize for that? That is how some of these estranged parents walk through life, in that entitlement. No matter what I do, if you hurt me, you're responsible, take accountability. It just doesn't work that way. Anywhoosie, tell me what you think of this estranged parent. What do you see? What do you feel? I feel that she is toxic, actually. I feel that she's extremely predatory. This is my point of view. Some of it comes from the experience that I have as being a therapist with narcissistic abuse survivors. So I have a little inside track. Her body language even sets my hair on fire. She, like, my spidey senses. And I don't mean in the creepy way. I mean, she tries to be, what if we, and what if this, and what if that, and how we feel, but there's no emotion. She's flatlined. That's not a good indication of somebody, or like, that's not an indication of someone who is really missing their adult child and feels like they're grieving. Like, I know different people grieve in different ways, but she's making videos, creating content, trying to be emotional, and nobody's home. Do you see that too? Please don't gaslight me. I'm joking. You can't gaslight me. I'm pretty much ungaslightable because I walk through life from the inside out. So it's very difficult to gaslight me at this point in my life. Thank goodness. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all of you. And to the estranged parents out there, I wish you well. I don't wish you harm. I do come in peace. I point out these types of creators because I'm hoping that instead of, attaching yourself to them, you'll look for even estranged parents, therapists. There are people who specialize, people who coach, who actually have been there, done that. In other words, they've walked in your shoes. I was an estranged parent. I repaired my relationship with my daughter over 20 years ago. I have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. Follow people who are where you want to be. Even if their estrangement never gets repaired, look for the language, look for what they're selling you. It's one thing to be trying to figure out your grief from somebody who really isn't carrying this, I'm trying to find the word, who isn't still smear campaigning their child, their adult child, who isn't still speaking poorly, who isn't vilifying the community of estranged adults, who isn't talking about where they went wrong. Look for the signs. There are estranged parents on this platform who go, yeah, actually, I deserved my adult child to take space. And they may never come back. And I had to grieve that loss and accept the fact that I could have and should have done better. And this is how I'm healing. That's who you need to follow. At least they're a step ahead of you in that. At least they can light the path for you to know you're allowed to have a good life. Not every estranged parent was a child abuser. There's a lot of estranged parents out there who pass down trauma and who are having difficulty getting out of their own way right now to face and have the courage to face the things that they haven't processed from their own childhood experience. And they put that onto their children. And, there's a point in time where we have to, or we do, or should recognize that it's not about being a perfect parent. It's about being healed enough to be a person who can receive criticism, who can respect boundaries, and just be kind and not defensive at a bare minimum. So I hope this video is helpful for you, and thank you for being here. And again, no hate, no shade, not even on this person. This is about talking about the things that aren't working and talking about the things that do work. So thanks for being here.